We'll get started here in just a second. All right, so I did suggest in the email to grab a couple blocks or books today. I think we'll need something more sturdy than soft for at least the flow that's happening in my head, but you know, sometimes that changes as we get going. So to start class today, let's find a comfy seat. You're welcome to sit on a block or anything else that you like to support your practice with. Just finding that seat, feeling the sits bones rooted down. I really enjoy sitting on a block, especially at the beginning of my practice. It takes a little bit of pressure off my hip flexors. I also feel tall, and I'm not. And so maybe that's also why I like to sit on a block, you know, whatever works for you. We'll go ahead, maybe your palms rest facing up or down. And always remember that that seat is what is comfortable to you. So don't feel like you need to sit in easy pose with the ankles crossed. You're welcome to have the legs out. Just making sure your joints are comfortable as you sit and arrive in your practice. Perhaps your eyes close. Maybe they're open with a downcast gaze. And you can just start to check in. First, noticing how the body feels today. Becoming aware of where maybe there's a little bit of tension, but also noticing where there's already space. You can start to feel your shoulders drop away from the ears. The spine feels long, as if you're gently pressing the head into something behind you, helping maintain alignment through the whole spine. And as you pause, perhaps you set an intention to guide your practice. Maybe that intention is one of slowing down, giving yourself the chance to pause amidst whatever chaos might be around. Maybe that pause is in a deepening of the breath. Perhaps you'll find it as a pause and a posture. Wherever you are in your breath cycle, go ahead and exhale everything out. We'll inhale for a count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Letting your breath return to its pace. Noticing how that boxed breath, where you have 4 sides to that breath. You're inhaling for 4 counts, holding for 4 counts, exhaling for 4, and then holding at the bottom. Just noticing how that might have affected your nervous system, as you let your breath find its pace to guide your practice. On your next inhale, arms reach high. Exhale, twists to your right. Left hand finds the right knee. Maybe the right fingers tint behind you. Settling into that twist for about 2 more rounds of breath. Inhales, lengthen the spine. Exhales might deepen your twist. Your next inhale brings you center. The exhale finds your second side. You might find one shoulder is a little stickier than the other. Your next inhale brings you center. Arms come down on your exhale, just resting on the thighs as you circle the shoulders up, back, and down. Maybe you do both shoulders at once. Maybe you take one shoulder at a time. Just feeling a little bit of movement through the shoulder. As you take one more, then we'll pause. And then making your way to tabletop. If you have a block, you can just shimmy it out of the way. Palms stack under shoulders, knees are under hips. Spine is long, front of the head is reaching long in front of you. I've got a giant plot of hair on top of my head, so that's reaching forward for me. Your tailbone's reaching behind. You can just start by little gentle circles one way, circling through the arms, kind of stirring the pot. And then you can start making those circles bigger. Don't worry, we'll go both ways in our rotations. Those circles can get as big as you'd like. Maybe the hips even make their way back to the heels. And you find about 3 more revolutions. And then we'll start to stir the pot in the other direction. Starting small here, feeling that movement through the wrists and shoulders. Then gently growing the circle as you're ready. Just feeling some space and mobility, maybe finding some edges. We've got about 3 more rounds. When you feel evened out, we'll meet back in our tabletop. Checking back in with the stack of the joints and the length of your spine. With your next inhale, drops the belly looking toward the ceiling from cow pose. Exhale, rounds to cat. Syncing your breath with your movement as you move through about 4 more rounds of cat-cow. When you finish those rounds, you can pause in neutral spine, tuck the toes, and then drop the hips back to meet the heels. In child's pose, arms can stay long or by your sides. And you can gently creep the hands back toward the knees. Toes stay tucked as we find our delightful toe stretch here. I know you're loving it. You're welcome. Hands can always stay down to reduce pressure there on those toe joints. As you sit upright, also notice shoulders stacking over hips, spine still long. Just loving the toe stretch today. You're welcome to take a little bit of slow shakes of the head. No. You could nod yes. Or draw some half moons on your collarbone with your chin. Or maybe you're like, you know what, now I just want to sit with this posture and just really notice how it feels. You can do that too. And as you're ready, you'll shift your hands back forward, untuck the toes, and here's the best part. Tap the tops of the feet out on the mat. And then when you're ready, we can make our way to down dog. Hands might walk a handprint forward, so you can get that depth and distance for dog pose. When you arrive there, you can start with intuitive movement. Walking your dog, wagging your tail, as you begin to become aware of the hands active on the mat, shoulders away from ears, but finding whatever movement you need for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Pausing in that outward stillness of your down dog for 5 rounds of breath. Really noticing how it feels. Taking the time. Maybe you even close your eyes to envision the posture without looking at your feet. Your next inhale pulls you out to high plank. Feeling free to drop to the knees at any time as we hover and hold here, pausing in plank. It's not necessarily rest hold, but giving your body time to notice how it feels here. Sometimes we vinyasa through so quickly that we don't notice how plank feels. Then slowly lowering yourself to your mat for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Belly hits the floor, baby cobra. Elbows might pull back, hands might hover. Exhale, releases forehead to the mat. Tucking the toes. Feeling free to pass through child's pose. On your way down dog. Your next inhale lifts the heels, bends to the knees, looking forward. Exhale brings you to the top of your mat. Maybe you widen your stance slightly. Maybe you bend your knees deeply as you pause and forward fold. Then releasing any grips you've taken, inhale brings you halfway up. Exhale, holds. Inhale halfway again. Exhale, fold. Then bending deeply through the knees, tailbone tucks as you stack your way to mountain pose. Once again, pausing. Maybe you close your eyes. I like to envision my muscles and bones when I close my eyes. But that might just be a me thing. Then you can step it out, shake it out briefly. If you've got your blocks, go ahead and have one at the front edge of your mat and one at the back edge. I think how they're gonna best serve us today. And just a heads up, as we move through practice, I know I often teach as your mirror, but since I'm teaching with my mat longwise, I'm going to actually cue the leg that I do, because otherwise, I have no idea if we'll ever know our right and our left. So we're gonna kind of go at it that way. So we'll be at the tops of our mats in mountain pose. Feeling all that joint stack, shoulders over hips, knees, and ankles. The rib cage is closing slightly so that you're able to find that stack, shoulders over hips. Inhale, arms reach high. Exhale, hinges, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Planting the hands, you step yourself back to high plank. Maybe you hover and hold, maybe you lower your knees, maybe you pass through your chaturanga, elbows hugging close as the chest comes forward and down. Coming to cobra, up dog if you're ready, then meeting it down dog. Inhale, lift your left toes high. Letting the hip open as the knee bends. Maybe you circle at the ankle. And squaring that leg off to three-legged dog. Pausing here, feeling hips staying aligned. Noticing how your body weight shifted, most likely to the right side. And on your next exhale, the left foot steps through. Framing that foot, helping it along if you like. Pausing in high lunge here. Beginning to feel a long line, crown of head to the heel. Resisting the urge to just collapse onto the quad. Feeling the low belly engaged. Inhale, rise the breath all the way up to full crescent. Feeling free to widen the palms so the shoulders drop down. Option always to bring hands to heart center as well. Loving that crescent lunge. Maybe you're getting a sense for why I suggested that intention of slowing down, giving yourself a chance to pause and really feel the posture. And letting your elbows go wide as the chest opens to the ceiling. Returning center as you swoop open to warrior two. Arms reaching long. Blade edge of the back foot. Pressing down, checking in with the alignment of that front knee. It often likes to take a little bit of a wiggle forward and back. Gaze is most likely over the front finger as you sink into the bend of your lunge. Then flipping your front palm up and back exalts your warrior. Inhale, returns. Straightening through the front knee, turning the toes to the long edge of the mat. Hands come to the hips as the chest opens on your inhale. Exhale, hinges, stopping halfway, tabletop. Crown of the head reaches forward. Arms reach out, T-shape. Belly button pulls to the spine as the hands come together like they're holding a block. Inhale, flies them back out. For 3, 2, 1. This time you can surrender into the forward fold, placing the hands wherever best serves you, and wide angle forward fold. Maybe you scoop up through the heels. Maybe you keep your palms planted under your shoulders. Wherever you place the hands, the crown of the head is reaching towards your mat. Then turning your right toes to the short edge of your mat, walking the hands over toward that foot, coming up on the left toes, lizard lunge, facing the opposite end of your mat. Pausing here in that active lizard, so hands pressing down. Maybe you almost feel like you're cat posing through your shoulders as your knee hugs in to the shoulder. And letting your weight shift into your left hand, the right fingers reach up, supported lunge twist. Right hand comes down, right foot steps back to meet the left, down dog. Pausing in down dog, feeling free to find the flow. Eventually we all meet in down dog. Inhale, lifts your right toes high, knee bends, hip opens. Then leg squares off, we'll pause in three-legged dog, taking inventory, maybe taking a little bit of a shift of the weight toward that right hand. Your next exhale steps the right foot through, pausing in that high lunge, adjusting your alignment, then hovering your hands. Inhale, rise the breath up, crescent lunge. Settling into the arm placement for your shoulders. Maybe sink a smidge deeper into the bend of the front knee. Your next inhale, elbows go wide, chest opens. Returning neutral and opening to the long edge of your mat. Warrior 2 on your second side. Checking in with your alignment, deepening perhaps into the bend, and feeling the tailbone reaching down to the mat versus the wall behind you. Very strong and stable in your warrior 2. Inhale, flips the front palm as you exalt up and back. Inhale, stacks. Knee straightens. Toes turn to the long edge. Chest opens to the ceiling, hands find the hips. Exhale, hinges, pausing at table height. Imagining somebody could have, you know, a glass of tea on your back and it wouldn't spill. Arms reach out T-shape. Exhale, press the hands together. Inhale, flies the hands back up. For 3, 2, 1. Then surrender into the fold. Maybe you take the same placement of the hands. Maybe you mix it up. And turning the left toes to the short edge of the mat as you come up on the right toes. Lizard lunge on your second side. Holding in the strength of this posture. It's a pretty active stretch. As stretches go. As you pause, check in with the head. Was it drooping? Crown the head to the floor, or is the back of the head still pressing behind? Weight shifts to your right hand as the left hand reaches high. Supported twist. Left hand finds the mat, left foot steps back to meet the right down dog. Then feeling free to pause or take a flow. Eventually, we'll all meet in child's pose. And your next inhale pulls you through table to down dog. Then you lift the heels, bend your knees, looking forward. Exhale brings you to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reverse swan dive. Exhale, hands to heart. You can pause, shake it out, sway it out, grab a sip of water. Then we'll meet back in mountain. As we meet in that mountain, no rush. Maybe pause and just check in. My body's natural preference for a yoga class is a lot of movement. So when you make me stop and pause in a posture, I often feel far sweatier afterwards. So, you know, our muscles sometimes need that challenge of the other styles of yoga. Inhale, arms reach high. Exhale, hips sit down in back chair pose. Arms can reach high, they can hang out at heart center. Wherever your chair feels best today. If you take a moment to notice, where are those shoulders in space? Where are your knees in space? Where are your hips in space? Hips are reaching down and back. Knees are stacking over ankles. Shoulders, they're going to be a little bit forward, but we don't want to be like down here and like full on squat. Yeah, we want to have the shoulders, the action of pulling back, which helps create some openness across the chest. Exhale, releases, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lifts. Exhale, hands plant, right foot steps back. Peeling it on up to crescent lunge. Inhale, opens that chest to the ceiling. And turning neutral, re-stabilizing in crescent. Exhale, swoops open, warrior two. Inhale, flips the front palm up and back to exalt. Then this time we tip it forward, extended side angle. Elbow might rest on the knee. Maybe the arm hovers as you pause in this posture. Inhale brings you back up to warrior two. Straightening through the front knee, left toes turn to the long edge of the mat. Right toes turn to the short edge. Flipping the front palm, exalting your triangle, up and back. Inhale brings you to neutral. You might heel toe that back foot ever so slightly forward as you tip it forward for triangle pose. Hand can rest, foot, floor, block if it's handy, or it can hover. Then bringing the gaze down to the right big toe. Maybe the left hand comes to the hip. Bending through the front knee as you launch to balancing half moon. Maybe that block becomes handy. Maybe the top arm reaches high. Maybe the bottom arm hovers. And squaring both hands to the block, hip squares. So now the front of the hip, the kneecap and the big toe of the floating leg facing the mat. Swapping it out, left hand finds the block, right hand finds the right hip. And maybe you creep into your revolved half moon. Right arm could reach high or stay on the hip. Right hand comes back down, two hands to the block. Maybe you press that leg high for standing split. Then bending through your front knee, left toes find the floor behind you, framing the foot, right foot steps back, down dog. Inhale curls you up and out if you so choose for a flow. Eventually we all pause in down dog. Inhale, lifts your heels, bend through the knees, looking forward. Stepping it up to the top of the mat on your exhale. Inhale halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reverse swan down. Exhale, hands up. Pause, Quick inventory check. And inhale, arms reach high. Exhale, chair pose. Hips sink down and back. Settle into the place for those arms. Because you know, first time it was a longish holding chair, so wouldn't want to miss out on that opportunity again. Maybe. Exhale, release, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lifts. Exhale, hands plant, left toes step back. We make our way up to crescent lunge. Shoulders are pressing down. Tailbone reaches down, lengthen the lumbar spine. Elbows go wide as you reach up and back, chest toward the ceiling. Returning to crescent, restabilizing if needed. Then your next exhale opens, warrior two. Stabilizing through the bend of the front knee as you reach up and back to exalt. Then tipping it forward, extended side angle. Elbow to knee, arm can hover. Ideally, it's the same as the first side, but honoring whatever differences your body might need today. Not letting the tail feathers tip back to the wall behind you. Your spine is still long. Inhale, rise the breath up to warrior two. Front knee straightens. Right toes turn to the long edge. Left toes to the short edge. Triangle. Well, 5-point start, but. Then inhaling as we exalt our triangle up and back. And returning neutral, maybe you shimmy that right heel forward ever so slightly. As you tip it forward, triangle pose. Spine is still long here. Gaze can be in front of you, at the foot, or up at the hand, depending on what feels best for your neck. Personally, I like to look down at the bottom hand or foot. And if your gaze is not already at your front foot, go ahead and bring it there. Maybe the top hand finds your hip. As you begin to bend through the front knee so you can launch to balancing half moon, maybe that block meets the hand. As you open the hip to the long edge of the mat, top hand might float. Pressing down with the big toe of the standing foot. Maybe your bottom hand hovers too. Then slowly squaring off, two hands to the block as the hips become square. Big toe kneecap and front of hip facing the floor. Then we swap out our hands, right hand to the block, left hand to the hip. Feeling those hips pressing back as you rotate to revolve half moon. Maybe the hand reaches, maybe it stays down for today. Squaring it back off, pressing through that floating leg for standing split. And bending through the front knee as your hands spray, stepping the back foot down. Left foot meets it, down dog. Feeling free to find a flow. Eventually we'll pause in child's pose. As you pause in child's pose, check in with the body. Notice how it feels. Notice the breath. And inhale can bring you up, dropping the hips to one side, coming to a seat, maybe grab your cup, grab a sip of water. Then we'll plant the feet on the mat. Knees bent, arms reaching forward, or catching behind the thighs. As you slowly articulate the spine to the mat. As your spine hits the floor, maybe you pause, arms overhead, knees still bent. Then you can hug the knees to the chest when you're ready. Feeling free to gently sway or simply hug. Then hugging the right knee in as the left foot plants on the mat or extends out long. Maybe you gently sway the quad across the belly. And keeping hold of that knee, pulling the nose up toward that right knee. Maybe you hover your left heel as the arms reach down by your sides. Hovering and holding here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hugging the knee as you lower the heel and the head to the mat. Then guiding the right knee across your body, spinal twist. Maybe both arms reach. Maybe the gaze is over your right shoulder. Unwinding center. Right heel reaches to the ceiling. We lower the heel slowly for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Heel meets the floor as the left knee hugs in. Feel free to plant the right foot on the mat if you so choose. Maybe the quad gently sways. Maybe you stay in stillness. And starting with those hands still on the knee, nose pulls to the knee. You can always just stay here, lots of levels, right? Then the bottom foot hovers. Then maybe you keep the knee where it was and let go as you hover with the arms. Holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Heel finds the floor, head finds the floor, knee hugs back in. Then the right hand guides the left knee across the body, spinal twist. Unwinding. Left heel reaches to the ceiling. Let me lower the heel to the mat for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause briefly. And then we'll plant our feet on the mat. Feet are about hip distance apart. Feeling free to reach the hands toward the heels, but no need to grab. As you tuck the tailbone, hips press high into bridge pose. Feeling as if the knees were squeezing a block between them. If you have a block handy, feel free to pop it there. Exhale, releases. Articulating the spine back to the mat. Maybe you pause in stillness, or perhaps your body prefers to windshield wiper the knees. And bringing everything neutral, arms pressing down. This time, maybe you keep your hands exactly as they were. Option also, as your hips press high, to clasp your hands underneath you for a different variation of bridge. Your next inhale tucks the tail as the hips press high, finding your options here in a stable, strong bridge pose. And slowly the spine finds the mat once more. Maybe windshield wiper or pause in stillness. Perhaps you find one more round of bridge, or maybe this time, 2 options. If wheel is in your practice, you can press your hands behind you. Fingers will be pointing towards your shoulders. And you can press up into wheel. Option 2 would be to bring your hands down closer to your hips. Catch a little bit of momentum with your legs, and then support the low back as you reach up into shoulder stand. Taking the pike out of the hips as you stack the legs up. Pausing in whichever posture you've chosen for a few rounds of breath. If you're in shoulder stand especially, feel a little bit of space between your chin and your chest. It'll make it easier to breathe there. If you're in wheel, feel free to lower down at any time. If you're in shoulder stand, perhaps in the next 3 to 5 breaths, you drop your feet behind you for plow pose. If you're in bridge, perhaps you stay there really powering up through the back line of the body, engaging through the hamstrings and the glutes. Maybe you take some peeling bridges or breathing bridges where your exhale lowers your tailbone down and your inhale presses your hips high. Choosing whichever option you've settled into, Just enjoying that posture. I only came up and out because I've had a migraine all day, and none of those really felt great to my body. So I decided to just go ahead and sit back up. And as you're ready, absolutely no rush. If you're still in shoulder stand, maybe you go ahead and drop into plow. If you've been hanging out in plow, maybe you slowly articulate the spine back to the mat. Same for bridge pose, and my goodness, you are a rock star if you held wheel for that entire amount of time. Then once your spine has met the mat, perhaps you plant the feet on the floor and gently windshield wiper the knees. And you can hug the knees to the chest again. Maybe you simply stay there. Perhaps you open out, reaching the hands, the blade edges of the feet for a little bit of happy baby. You can rock in happy baby. You could stretch and extend one leg and then the other. If you're feeling feisty, you could extend both legs at the same time. Just giving your body a few final postures. If you're hankering for a very gentle inversion, feel free to let the feet float up to the ceiling for that waterfall or tiger pose with your hips still on the mat. You got about a minute, give or take, to round out your postures and close out your practice so that you can settle comfortably into your Shavasana. And as you're ready, you can begin to surrender and to release into the most comfortable place for your Shavasana. Maybe that's arms and legs splayed wide. Maybe your feet stay planted. Maybe you've got a bolster under your knees or a rolled blanket under your neck if you've got props handy. Just allowing your body to find a place of rest where there is no work. Perhaps your mind returns to the idea of slowing it down. Just pressing pause. Pausing movement. Pausing mind. And just settling in. mind wanders. No worries, just call it back. If the toe fidgets, just bring it back to stillness. And if you're ready, perhaps drawing your awareness throughout the body by deepening your breath. And then slowly exhaling it out. As you perhaps invite more movement throughout the body. Maybe it starts small with the fingers and toes. Perhaps it grows with some rolling of the wrists and ankles, or nodding the head gently from side to side. Maybe you plant your feet on the mat and windshield wiper the knees. Feeling conscious movement throughout the body. And when you're ready, maybe you arrive at a full body stretch, fingers away from toes. And then hugging everything in tight as the knees come to the chest. Then rolling to pause on your favorite side. Taking this last brief pause to allow your practice to settle into your body. And slowly and on your own time, guide yourself up to a comfortable seat. Perhaps arriving where we began, renewed. Inhale, arms reach high, palms meeting at the top. Exhale, hands pause at your third eye as you seek openness of mind. They rest at your lips so that you find honest words. And they settle at your heart as you arrive at a happy heart. Thank you for allowing me to be your guide for your practice. Namaste.
Thanks, Molly.
Welcome.
I hope your headache goes away.
Yeah, nope, it's been here all day. Shocking that the third day of the semester might have a intense migraine. Shocking.
Go figure.